This conference will now be recorded.
So today we are going to discuss about how the concept of the partitioning with respect to how to alter the partitions by using alter statement. So how to drop the partitions and then how to copy content from unpartitioned table into a partitioned table, from table to table, unpartitioned table into a partitioned table. So what are all the problems that we are facing and during this copying of content from unpartitioned table to partitioned table? How this thing can be overcome by using a concept called as dynamic partitioning. So what are all the parameters that we need to invoke for dynamic partitioning? And then we move on to the concept of clustering. That is here, how to do this bucketing. Cluster is nothing but bucketing concept. So these are all the agenda that we have planned for today. And then tomorrow, what we did up to this today's session will be done practically, and we can proceed further regarding how to perform. This is the agenda for the tomorrow's session. Okay, so first 30 minutes it will be practical. I will share you the document. Once I completed the session today, all the documents associated with this practical I will share to you to try. If not, I will let you know and it will be done practically. And then how to implement CRUD operation. Okay, create, so update and delete, and these are all the operations that is associated with the ACID properties. How to perform a hive update, how to perform a hive insert. Okay, we will discuss about that. We will be discussing about various file format, hive file formats, under which circumstances we need to go for which format, and then how various optimization, query optimization techniques. What are all the different ways that we can optimize the query, under which we will be dealing with several things associated with joins and indexes. So this is the agenda for today's session and tomorrow's session. Okay. So here, in terms of the table, we already covered the concept behind the managed table, and under the managed table, we discussed about unpartitioned managed table and the partitioned managed table. Similarly, we discussed about the concept of external table. Here too, unpartitioned external table and partitioned external table. All the things has been covered. In our previous session, we discussed about how to create a table and how to add a partition to the table. So under the external table, what we did at the time of adding the partition, we have specified a location. So in the session that we have discussed about this partitioned external table, we have created a table by name customer. The customer table contains the following informations. Here the customer table contains 5 fields at the time of creation. Okay, and after that, what we did, it contains the following fields: customer ID, customer name, and then city, street, and zip code. These are all the 5 fields that we have created. So after issuing this alter statement, here the partitioned in this alter statement only. So here we have created the table based upon the following partition. Okay, there are two partition field. One is a country field and another one is a state. These are all the two partitions. When these two partitions will be added, these two partitions will be added to the table when you issue this alter statement add partition. Okay. So at the time of creation of the table, only these 5 fields alone will be created. That is what that we had discussed yesterday. So here we use the alter table, and we should know the data sets are associated with each partitions. Here, if a country field containing example 10 unique records like India, UK, USA, Japan, then how many partitions will be created? So 10 partitions. Within that, each and every country, assume that if it is India, there are several sub-partitions, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kerala, means how many unique combinations of this country and state is possible, that much of partitions has been created. Kerala, okay. So for example, in India alone, the partition in here, you have India. Under the India, we have a sub-partitions called Tamil Nadu, Andhra and Kerala. Okay. So here the data associated with this Tamil Nadu will be stored here. The data associated with the Andhra will be stored here. You should be aware of where to load the data. So at the time of the partitioning, you want to specify alter table, the name of the table name customer. You want to specify add partition. Here you need to partition. Okay, you want to specify what is the value for the country. Country is equal to India, uh, comma, and you want to specify what is the state. State is equal to TN, Tamil Nadu. So here you want to specify, being it is an external table. So we have created this customer table as an external table. So we want to specify the location. Okay, location. So under assume that user, under user we have a folder by name data, under which Tamil Nadu data is coming under the Tamil Nadu folder. So let me directly gives the folder. What are all the files that it is present? That files content will be loaded here. So here, once the partition has been created, when you issue a query, okay, what happens here is when a query contains in the condition class, whether countries I want to issue, select start from customer, means it will be applied to all the partitions. We have partitions India, we have partitions US, UK, Japan. So if I apply this query, it will run through all the data associated with all the partitions. When I issue a particular condition where country is equal to India instance, the query won't search through the data associated apart from India. It will search through only the partitions where data associated with India is present. Country is equal to India and state is equal to Tamil Nadu instance. Here it will run through only in this following content only. It won't search unwantedly other. So this is the way by which we can able to achieve a better performance. Okay. So here, if you want to drop the partition, yes, that is possible. So here too, we want to use alter table, table name, drop partition. We need to specify the partitions. Okay. So that is the way by which we can drop the partition. Instead of this location, simply alter table customer. Instead of add, we can issue drop partition, and I need to specify which partition that I need to go for. Please make a note. Okay. Similarly, you can able to add more than one partition at a stress. If you want to add more partitions, you can use a single alter table statement, and you can add a data associated with the all the partitions. Example, you can use this alter table customer add. You can specify the partition here. Country, for example, I am going to add data associated with Tamil Nadu, Andhra, and Kerala. Country is equal to India, comma, state is equal to Tamil Nadu. So here I need to specify the location. Location where I have my data. Assume under user, under data, the folder is Tamil Nadu. Okay, so I can go. Similarly, I can add another partition. Partition country, once again country is equal to India, and then state is equal to Andhra. Like I can add location. I need to specify the user data and for Andhra. Similarly, partition, you want to specify country is equal to India and then followed with states. Similarly, how many partitions that you wish to have, you can add those partitions. At the time of creating the partitions, you need to specify the location of the associated data. So that if you have the data file present there, in that partition, those data will be mapped. If not, no issue. You can laterally store the data file there. Once the data file has been moved into the appropriate location, and then you can able to query from the table. It won't list you any error if there is no data file in the specified location. So these are all the ways by which we can able to do concept of partitioning with respect to this external table. Okay. So here what we discussed so far. So here we have discussed about how to create a table, okay, in Hive. And the tables we have discussed is manager tables or external tables. So also we have seen that both manager table and external table could be partitioned. So if it is partitioned or unpartitioned, how to load the data. So if it is a Hive manager table, so here we use the load statement. For managed table, we have used the load statement, managed external. So here unpartitioned table. Okay, managed, we have used the load statement to load the data. So at the time of create, we no need to specify the location. Location is not needed. Okay, automatically it will store under user warehouse Hive folder. For external table, what we need to do, okay, so here too we create a table using a keyword. External is the keyword, and at the time of creation we need to specify a location. Okay, therefore Sundar, just now I told Sundar, after completion of this we can complete a practical. Okay, Sanjay, Sanjay, am I audible?
This conference will now be recorded.
No. Okay, now we are going to discuss about how to load the data from unpartitioned table into a partitioned table. Okay, so from one table to another table. So here for that, what we are going to use, I am going to share you a data set. Okay, so the data set contains records associated with somewhat around six unique combinations. Okay, this is the data set, HR data set that I am going to share to you for this practical. So this is the HR data. This is the data set that we are going to have for doing this practical. For the next two practicals, how to for first concept, how to copy data from unpartitioned hive table into a partitioned hive table, and then we are going to discuss about another concept called as dynamic partitioning. Okay, while moving this data, we will be facing with some issues. How to overcome from this by using a concept called dynamic partitioning. For both the things, you are going to use this same data set. Okay, the data set consists of around 105 or 106 records, I think so. Okay, using which we can do all the practicals. Here, the data that we have shown consists of the following unique combinations. Being we are going to discuss about this partitioning concept. Before going into that, I want to go through the data set. Here, these are all the ways by which we have the data. With respect to country, we have unique three countries. US, we have California, we have United Kingdoms, and we have Denmark. And in US, we have in terms of states, the record contains Texas, Washington, and California. These are all the three unique combinations with respect to US, Texas, US, Washington, California. And for Canada, we have Ontario. This is the data sets that is associated. And for UK, Oxford. And for Denmark, Bavaria. So here, this data set, why I am giving more importance to the data set. Here is once you do this practical, you should aware of what sort of things happening at the background. Out of these 16 records, we have the data associated Texas 5, 18, and 45 with respect to Washington and Canada 2, and with respect to UK 34. This is the way by which the data has been split. Now we can find US Washington, US Washington, similarly US Texas, US Texas. So this file we are going to store in the HDFS, and we are going to do this practical. Okay, so this is the way for the data contain Canada, Ontario. Okay, this contains DE, Bavaria, US Washington. Like these are all the data that it is associated. So here, first what you need to do, you want to have this data file. The data file that I am going to share to you, this hr-data.text. This is a text file with data as a comma separated format. You store it under any location of your choice in HDFS. Okay. So under user, you can store it under a folder by data. You can have it this hr-data.text. So this is the first thing that you want to move to. You know how to move the data into the HDFS. Okay, so here you can make use of just a recall. You can make use of a command call copy from local with respect to HDFS to move the data from your local file system into the HDFS file system. Copy from local. First you want to move the data. Then after that, what you need to do? You need to go up with this following thing. Once you have moved the data, okay, you can now create a table, a hive table, that is an external hive table for this particular data set. Okay, the data consists of the following fields, around 10 11 fields, I think so. Okay, here you have this ID, the ID, the employee ID. You have this first name, you have the last name, and you have this some date, hire date. Then this is your salary, and this is your department. Sales is your department, and here UK is your country. Here Oxford state, and then here Madeleine Center is your city, I think so. Okay, so here we have this zip code. So these are all the fields that it is associated with your data. First, you want to create a table, that is a external table. Here we are going to do with the concept of external table. Okay, in external partitioning only, we go with the concept of dynamic partitioning. Therefore, we need to create an external table. Okay, So here, what are all the things that I am discussing? I am having. I will give you the type of content you can directly practice. Okay, so for all the thing, I have the data set and I had created the document directly. Okay, so here for partitioning everything here, we are going to do with the following practicals. So these are all the things associated with our previous discussions. How to, okay, so I will share with respect to partitions, and this is the thing associated with for your what we are going to discuss now. Okay, I had showed the document, I have showed the data, and data set in this Google document. You can straight away download it and everything. Okay, so let me first create this concept. And two, I have clearly mentioned this is the HR.txt file which contains 105 records. Okay, so using which we will be practicing partitioning and bucketing and also dynamic partitioning. Here you want to create a table with the following information. Okay, so let me create a table. Create table employees. Here the employee table contains the following information. It contains the ID, first name, last name, email, hire date, salary, department, string, and data. Here, being that separator is comma as a separator, and it is assumed that it is under the following locations. Okay, so it creates a employee database. Before that, the data set near HR.data need to be moved to the location. Okay, so here let you make a verification whether you have the data. Okay, so this is the command Hadoop DFS -put or copy from local. You can make use of both the command to copy the content from the local file system into the Linux file system. Okay, now we are going to, now we have the table and the data associated with the table has been mapped. Next, what you are going to do is we are going to partition this employee table. Okay, we are going to create another table called type. Our discussion is we have first step, we have created a unpartitioned external table, and we are going to, and we have loaded the data at the time of creation of the table. We have mapped the data, HR hyphen, and this data we have mapped to the particular table. Now we are going to create another table which is a partitioned table, and we are going to take the data from this table and we are going to load in the appropriate partition into the target table. Okay, that is the second process that we are going to do. So here, before we load the data into the Hive table, what we need to do? This is the target table. We need to create the target table. This is the source table. Okay, we want to create a target table. So here, what is the content that we want to create with this table? So from the source table, so here you should exclude the two things. One, the country, and the another thing, state. So at the time of creation of this table, this is the source table employee. You have created the table with the country and state string. But we are going to do a practical associated with partitioning based upon this country and state. What I am going to do? So I am going to create a table, a target table. So without this country or a state. Okay, you can now find. Now I created the table with the following entry only. Okay, stay up to this. And by using this partitioning condition, I am going to partition based upon country and state. Partitioned by country string and state is string. Okay, is it making sense? When you make a comparison between these two tables, the target table does not have a country or state. Also because being we are going to store the data based upon country or state. Here, what happened here is we are going to do a partitioning. Being there are unique 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 combinations. Okay, 3 combinations of years and remaining 3 for other country. We have going to create 6 partitions. These are all the 6 partitions that it is going to be created. Okay. Six partitions we are going to create. One for US. So under US, you have partitions for these 3 countries. And all the data associated. This here the US Texas, all the records, Texas records will be stored here. And for Washington, the Washington records will be assumed. And 45, we will make a verification of all those. And we do partition for CA, UK, and Denmark. Okay, so this is the way that we are going to partition the target table. So let me name the table target table as employee height. Okay, you know how to create the table. So we have created the table using the following command: create table height. So you have specified all the things, and this is going to be partitioned upon country and state. Okay, and then how to insert data. So here inserting data from the employee to the employee height, and need the following command. Okay, so insert into table name, or another option is insert override table. We can specify the partition. This is the thing that it is associated. Okay, you can issue 2 options. If you feel that the target table does not contain any information, then straight away you can insert into table employee height. So you can specify the partition, the country name, and you are selecting the source. Okay, so these are all the fields that you want to select based upon the following country. Okay, what if this happens? First, this query will be executed. Select all the fields associated with this source table. From the employee being it is the source table, it will be selected, and based upon the following conditions: country is equal to and state is equal to Bavaria. So in this source table, unpartitioned table, we have all the data associated with the country and state, and it will take the data and it will move the data into the target location, into the target where we are inserting. We are inserting into the target employee height. So at that the condition where we have specified here, country is equal to D, state is equal to Bavaria, the same condition need to be specified under the partitioning. Okay, under partition, country is equal to D, state is equal to Bavaria, we need to specify in the target table. Okay, so what happened here? The records will be loaded into the following location. All the data will be moved into the corresponding partitions from external unpartitioned table and the partitioned table. Here, once you issue the query, whenever your query contains the following condition, then it will let you to retrieve the needed information in a very, very fast manner. Okay, so that is the way by which we can move the data into the target table from unpartitioned source table. Okay. So here, if you want to do insert the override employee each and every time, if I want to do this, okay, for example, insert override employee where country is equal to D, like if I want to do each and every time, if I want to do for another 3 partitions, whether I need to do it all insert override employee table partitions equal to country like 3 times, the answer is no. Okay, so if I want to do more than upon more number of records, so here what we need to do, we can go with the concept called multi-table inserting. Multi-table inserting. What is multi-table insert? We read the source table only once and insert many times as required into the destination table. Okay, so instead of each and every time, for example, I take this. instead of which I want to once again insert each and every time I want to, for example, here I am going to insert override. So here country is equal to US and state is equal to California. So here I want to specify the country as US and state is equal to the same California. Once again I want another insert to be happen for the here. So country is equal to yes, state is equal to Texas. Whether I need to write this much of lines of coding for each and every insert, the answer is no. Each and every time you no need to go for this insert override statement. Instead of that, what you can do, you can read the data once uh, by using this the concept from table. Okay, so here I can insert directly. The command that you can do here is what I am trying to convey here is, so you can read the data. This is called a multi-table insert. So here you no need to specify this insert statement 3 times in this scenario. Insert override table partition each and every time, you no need to specify that. What you need to do, so you can directly use the following command. So you can use from table name. It will read the data from the table name and it will place that into the following. This command can be replaced with the following thing. So you are reading only once from the source table name. You are inserting to the target. Okay, for each and everything. So you can able to overcome from reading each and every time. Okay, so from the table name, when you are going to read each and every time for the combination, so yeah, corresponding map and reduce task will be invoked and took lot of time when you try to read each and every time. Instead of that, it will take the entire content of the source table and keep it in the buffer, and based upon the information, it will read from the buffer the temporary locations, memory location, and it will try to insert into the target table. Okay, so this is the way by which this concept is called a multi-table insert. Now we can find insert into table, select condition, straight away insert into table high. Each and every time you no need to uh, read the content of source table. Please make a note. This is called multi-table insert. Reading only one time and inserting into the target several number of times. By the way, so it reduces the number of map reduce tasks that it is created, and it will result in a overall performance improvement by minimizing the number of reads. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. This is the another important concept that it is associated. Okay. Now you can make a verification now. Now, what is the drawback that is associated? If there are now in this example, so since we have 6 unique combinations, that is okay for us. If we have 100 such combinations, each and every time, imagine that for the corresponding thing. So if there are 100 combinations, for each combinations, in this case, I want to write 5 lines of coding. If there are 100 unique combinations, I need to write whether 500 lines of coding. The answer is no. Here we can go up with the concept called as dynamic partitioning. Okay. So what is dynamic partitioning? And dynamic is partitioning in high. So here reduces the number of lines of coding for loading the data from one table into a partitioned table. So in this example, for this combination for these 3 combinations, what we can do, so we can simply replaces instead of reading the table each and every time, read one, and but all the thing selecting the data, inserting into that I want to specify here. If there are 100 combinations, the 100 into 500 lines of coding will be there. To minimize that, we go for this dynamic partitioning. Dynamic partitioning by default it won't be enabled. we want to enable the dynamic partitioning by means of some parameters. What are all the parameters that I need to set? Oh, so I need to set the following parameters to invoke dynamic partitioning. Kindly make a note of those parameters. Okay. So here in this hive, I need to set the following parameters. Set hive dot execute dot dynamic dot partitioning. By default, it is off. Okay. So here the output that it will show is false. Then you want to make it as true. Okay. So here set hive dot execute dot dynamic partitioning equals. You want to issue the following command to get the status. If you type this, it will return the status equals. You want to make it true. Therefore, that the dynamic partitioning will be set. And there are two modes. The dynamic partitioning can be set on either on a strict mode or on an unstrict mode. Okay, I will let you know the difference. So here what you need to do, so you want to set this execute partition mode to be a unstrict mode. Strict is the default mode. So the strict mode will require some syntaxes from you. So once you progresses with the class, you know what is the drawback associated with the strict mode. You want to set this as an unstrict mode. Okay. What is the parameter? Set hive dot execute dot dynamic dot partition dot mode. Hive execute dynamic partition, then you have dot mode option. Mode option need to be set as unstrict. And then you need to set there are some default parameters like maximum dynamic partitions per node. So maximum number of dynamic partitions that is supported for your cluster. Okay. So maximum created files like this. Some other parameters that I will let you know. So here there are maximum dot dynamic partitions per node. So these are all the default value which is based upon the size of your cluster and the hardware configuration for your cluster. How many dynamic partitions per node that it is supported. So I think so probably this value will be around 100 plus. And then here maximum dynamic partitions. So per node for the entire cluster. So maximum the dynamic dot partitions. This corresponds to the entire cluster. If you have a number of nodes in the cluster, combiningly based upon that, assume that the number of dynamic partitions, the default value is 1000. Okay. So with the cluster strength of within this 100. So here the next thing that is associated. Okay, so these are all the primary parameters. So higher dynamic partitioning and non-strict, that is unstrict, non-strict or unstrict. I will let you know non-strict. Okay, so strict and non-strict and per node and per cluster. You need to set the parameter. Then only you can able to execute all these things. Okay. So here this corresponds to max dot execute hive dot execute dot. So you want to issue the following command: set hive dot execute dot maximum dot dynamic dot partitions. Okay, maximum number of partitions that is allowed on a particular node. Okay, so here which is responsible for creating this partition? So here the mapper and a reducer. These are all the two entity which is responsible, being it is a map reduce program. So here the number of mappers and number of reducers is purely dependent upon your hardware configuration, how much of RAM and how much of here the processing capacity that it is assigned. By default, each and every map task by default will need 1 GB of RAM size, 1 GB of RAM size for optimum performance. If your computer is having a RAM memory up to 8 GB, then excluding this 2 GB for running services associated with the OS and other things, you can assign the remaining 6 GB to invoke a 6 map task. Okay, so here these are all some of the things that it associated, which is coming under the administration curriculum. The administrator will configure all those things. We have a admin the admin's responsibility to configure all those things, and that will be intimated to the developer. So this is the number of map and number of reduce that it is supported in this machine. Then accordingly you need to do the configuration. That part will taken care by the admin. Now you set this high parameter. Okay. So after setting this high parameter, what I can do? Instead of going up with this all the statements, I can replace by using a single statement. The statement here is I now need to specify any partition. So like a partition country is equal to US, state equal to, I now need to specify any partition value here. This is the command I can make use of it. Insert, I want to issue a overwrite table, the target table, employee height. Okay. So insert overwrite table employee height. I need to specify based upon this partition. So I need to specify only the partition field, such as country, comma, state. I now need to give the value. Okay. So in the target table, what I need to do, I need to specify only the partitioning field, country and state. Okay. So here in our example, what we did. So here in while doing this insert into the target table, we need to give the value and we need to select under the condition we need to give the value. If there are 100 combinations, similarly you need to type this country state under the partition and where condition